So here I am at the 9th hole of Stanley Park Golf Club. I don't know if it is a 9th hole, it just sounded good. So I have had the smoke machines on all night to really give this film an atmospheric feel. So yeah, it's done a really good job. Money well spent. So this golf course is on the outskirts of Blackpool. And Blackpool is my hometown. I was born just there actually. Don't know if you can see through the trees. But just behind these trees here is Victoria Hospital. And I was born there 49 years ago, almost exactly. Almost died there a couple of years ago too, but that's another story. So I started this walk at St. Chad's Church in Poulton Le Fylde, or as the locals call it, Poulton. And Poulton is where I've been living for the last couple of years. And why did I start a walk in Poulton Le Fylde, you might ask? Well, I thought it would be an interesting idea to see if I could walk 20 miles around my hometown as a sort of training exercise for my Berlin Wall trail in a couple of weeks. So yeah, if you're wondering why I'm talking like this, I'm working on my pronunciation for subtitles. Yeah, I'm just seeing if subtitles can handle my deviant behaviour. So between Poulton and Blackpool there is this kind of green belt, strip of green belt that separates the two towns. Poulton is very small, it's a very small market town, very quaint, it's full of hobbits, and Blackpool is a big town, it's quite a large town, one of the biggest towns actually. So I'm heading there next, and it's that way. Yeah, so people are actually playing golf in this. I mean, madness. Okay, right, let's head off. Let's head off towards Blackpool. So this is maybe the nicest little stretch of woodland in the whole of Blackpool. Salisbury Woods. Yeah, it's a lovely stretch of woodland, this. Very nice. Although I was always told not to come in here when I was a kid. Apparently in the 60s somebody was murdered in here. So I'm on Stanley Park now. One of my favourite places in Blackpool. Why is it one of my favourite places? It's a really nice park. One answer. I think mostly because I've just spent so much time here from growing up. Yeah, this was a place my mum would always bring me and my little sister in the pram, or my sister in the pram and me holding on to the pram. So it's full of memories, but it's very slippy. It's actually trying to kill me. Yeah. So that lake is teeming with life, and this park is teeming with memories. Yeah, it's full of ghosts actually. Yeah, I don't believe in actual ghosts, but ghosts do exist. You know, memories are ghosts. And so, I mean, I'm basically in Blackpool now. Once you get past the hospital, into the park, you're in Blackpool proper. So it started raining. I think it's just a passing shower though, because there's not supposed to be any rain today. And all it's done for the last couple of days is rain. Rain, rain, go away. Come again another day. Cafe there, closed. It's a nice cafe, Art Deco. Not quite sure when this park opened. I think it was late 20s, but it's a really nice park. So, we go out the main entrance and exit over here. So this is Mere Road, the main sort of thoroughfare, if you like, which goes from Stanley Park, main entrance, and heads towards the town centre. And there's some nice houses down here actually. They're all different. They've made a bit of an effort with this road. Where is everyone? Empty. Where is everyone was the title of the first ever episode of The Twilight Zone. In fact, it was the pilot episode of The Twilight Zone. Yeah. So, for some of you that don't know, if there are any, The Twilight Zone was a kind of science fiction, horror, mysterious kind of morality play or morality tale series, TV series, which originally aired in the late 1950s, early 60s. And they would kind of tell stories that were slightly weird and set within the mystical realms, shall we say. Star Trek was another one, the original series, of course. Again, morality plays. Little TV series that kind of showed you how to live. And, you know, they weren't political, they were moral. They were moral tales. And kind of non-preachy, which is a lost art these days. There was a kind of British version of The Twilight Zone called Tales of the Unexpected, which was based on a series of short stories by Roald Dahl, one of my absolute favourite writers growing up. And again, kind of little morality plays based in the mystical realm, slightly horror, slightly science fiction, surreal, with a kind of twist at the end. So very similar to The Twilight Zone in that regard, but surreal. A bit like this place. I mean, just this past week we've lost one of the great surrealists, David Lynch. One of my all-time faves. For those of you that haven't seen The Elephant Man, you ought to have seen it. For those of you that haven't seen Eraserhead, then you ought to have seen it. And for those of you who haven't seen Twin Peaks, you ought to have seen it. Twin Peaks was kind of revolutionary television and surreal, completely surreal. So I had all these TV shows growing up: Twin Peaks, The Twilight Zone, Tales of the Unexpected, the original Star Trek series. There is a fifth dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone. The place is here, the time is now, and the journey into the shadows that we're about to watch could be our journey. Coral Island. And the famous, oh, you mustn't forget the Golden Mile amusements. Yeah, so they've been there for as long as I can remember. Just here, right in front of me, is where Blackpool's main train station used to be. So Blackpool had another train station, Blackpool Central, which closed in 1964 as part of the beaching plan. But that was Blackpool's main train station. And if you need any idea how popular this town was at one time, Blackpool Central Station was the busiest train station in the world in 1911. The busiest train station in the world. And it had 14 platforms, which is the same as Paddington Station in London, or was. I think that Central Station was the biggest station ever to be closed, or the station with the most platforms ever to be closed. and they closed it because originally they were supposed to close Blackpool North, but the local council lobbied to have Blackpool Central closed instead, so they could knock it down and redevelop the land. Which never happened, of course. Just turned into a giant car park. There's not much going on around here. Let's keep heading south. So I'll just cut inland a little bit, have a mooch around here. This is home, this. So we're getting quite close to the area where I spent a lot of my childhood. That's seen better days. Gates's Wine Lodge closed. Been closed for a while, that. The Queen's Hotel. This here is Rawcliffe Street. And Rawcliffe Street is where I grew up. So from being born to about age 7 or 8, I lived on this street with my grandparents down there. So I was just a stone's throw away from the beach. Yeah, so I could hear the sea all the time. that background noise. I will come back to Rawcliffe Street in a little while. There's just something else I want to see first. Yeah, so the Queen's Hotel, just at the bottom of my road, it has a swimming pool here. In there is like a little pool. So my mum would take us to this swimming pool at the weekend sometimes. Yeah. So this is where I spent half of my childhood. 0 to 8. Or 7. 7 or 8. And just down here is the pleasure beach. So let's go and have a look. So just round the corner from me was South Pier, there. There used to be a windmill over there somewhere. Very distinctly remember it. A windmill on the prom. And this hotel here on the corner used to be a very grand place, originally. It's not looking so great now though. Dean Street, my God. Yeah, Dean Street. Castle. Once was the site of a giant open air swimming baths. walking down Watson Road, the road that cuts the pleasure beach in half. Originally this wasn't over the top, it wasn't built over like this. Originally there was just a road running straight through the park, and all along here was shops apparently. Long before my time. I mean, Blackpool is looking very run down now. I don't like saying it, but I remember it in the 80s. And it was run down in the 80s, but it was busy. It was incredibly busy. The truth is, this town's been in decline, really, since before the war, probably. You know, its peak was that year, I said, it was the busiest train station in the world, 1911. Then it kind of maintained its popularity, probably to some degree right up until the 60s and 70s, and then it slowly started going down. Once the 80s arrived, everybody wanted to go to Spain. We're heading a couple of blocks in, and this really was my old neighbourhood. So there used to be a church there, long gone. Still one left over here, Holy Trinity. Okay. Smoke shop. Antalya. Holy Trinity. Okay, so this is Bond Street. And it's deserted. It's deserted, and that's not just because it's out of season. I came here in the summer and it was deserted then as well. Ooh, something going on here. Should be renovating one of the buildings, my God. So that used to be the entrance to a cinema. Later a bingo. Yeah, so a bingo that my mum used to work at. Deary me. Yeah, so this is where I lived. And this block of houses here. And that was my view. Wall Street. Yeah, so in that block there is where I used to live. And you could come out, across the road, and then come down here. And this used to be the back entrance to the market. And it was a brilliant market too. I can still smell the fish counter now, which was just here as you went in. Sadly no more. I mean, this is sadder than I can ever articulate. This used to be, my God, this used to be my best mate's house. It's in better days. Yeah, it's looking very tired. I don't think that's open for business. I lived in this area with my grandparents until I was 7. And then I moved with my mum to a little council house, which I'll take you there in a bit. But my grandfather's brother, Conrad, used to own this. He used to live here. It actually still looks quite good. This is an old coach house, which is now a bed and breakfast apparently. And that still looks in pretty good shape actually. It's actually massive. It's a massive place. But yeah, I remember spending a lot of time in there. Old coach house, which it was. So my granddad would drive in there and then turn right and then park at the bottom. Yeah, it's knackered. Yeah, these gates are recent additions. God. Yeah, so where that big dustbin is where my house was. Our house. I'm glad they're not alive to see it. So this was Woolworths. When I was a kid, this was all Woolworths. Another place my mum used to work. So Matriarni's Ices is still here. The best ice creams I've ever had, actually, anywhere. Yeah, highly recommended. Oh. So I'm just going on the beach again, opposite my old street, because it was depressing me a lot. I mean, that's more than poverty, and that's more than being a bit run down. It's, you know, kind of semi-derelict, a lot of it. Well, not semi-derelict. Some of it is semi-derelict, and some of it is fully derelict. And there's no way you can rescue a place like this, in my opinion. Unless you stop people from using EasyJet and Ryanair and Jet2. I mean, I've walked about 10 miles now, and from here to Blackpool Tower, which you can probably see in the distance behind me, it's about 3 miles. So to get a taxi from here to there and back again will probably cost you about £45–50. I mean, that's a flight. That's a flight somewhere on EasyJet or Jet2. So when your flights are cheaper than taxis across town, then why would you come here when you can go somewhere hot or hotter? There's just no way it survives. You know, people faced with a choice of going to either Blackpool for a week or Benidorm for a week, it's like it's obvious what people do. I mean, people will say I am putting it down again, but I remember what this place was like before, you know. And that area that I've just walked around, that was like the second town centre. That was a busy shopping street, hundreds of people at any one time. Yeah, now it's just a slum, basically. It's a slum. I don't really know what else to say about it, but you know, talk about the Twilight Zone. That area really is the Twilight Zone. But it's also my comfort zone, because as run down as it is, it's still home. Heading down Lytham Road, over the railway bridge. Onto Highfield Road. And Highfield Road is doing alright. Most of the shops are full. Tenants paying rent, selling their wares. A proper locals shopping area. So I am back on Lytham Road now, and I'm heading towards the dunes. Yeah, excellent building, old pub. Okay, so I'm on a back street finally. Oh. The sound of traffic drives me insane sometimes. This is not a straight line walk. To do 20 miles, don't do so many straight lines, unless you want to walk from Fleetwood, which I didn't want to. So I'm going up towards Squires Gate Lane first, and officially crossing the boundary from Blackpool into St Anne's, officially. So I've done about 32,000 miles. 32,000 miles? I've done about 32,000 steps so far. So well over halfway. It's actually more than a 20-mile walk, this. It's about a 23-mile walk, but I just put it to the nearest round number. Hello, Squires Gate Lane. Okay, so if I cross this road, I am officially in St Anne's. So I'm just walking through Morrison's car park now, and there was a moment ago the sound of a helicopter. I don't know if you heard it. Let's have a look. I mean, when I was living at that address I showed you earlier, you used to be able to hear the airport because there was a lot of activity here in those days. There were lots of planes taking off. Small planes, but very loud propellers. Flights to Ireland, Isle of Man, Scotland, Glasgow. Domestic flights, basically. And then later on, there was a few international flights coming. Jet2 used to fly from here. Now there are none. Zero. And they have demolished the terminal as well. Crazy. There's a railway station just over there called Squires Gate Railway Station. It's like 2 minutes from the old terminal building. And John Lennon Airport in Liverpool doesn't have a rail link, yet this one did. Missed opportunity. So I'm on the industrial estate at Squires Gate Lane, and I'm about 5 minutes from my old street. So this is it. This is my old street. I'm going to go on the park. I'll show you the park. Original council fences. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully it's empty, and I can have a good natter with you. This is where I spent most of my youth. So there used to be swings here, long gone. Swings. Now there's just dog shit. There used to be like a little football area here with some goals made out of aluminium posts. Didn't have nets in them, but they were posts. And we would play football right here, end to end. Over here, there was like a basketball area, netball. There's nothing left. There's absolutely nothing left. Yeah, it was here. Yeah. There's a big supply of broken glass if anybody needs it. Oh, there's a bit of concrete. Yep. So there's a bit of concrete left. Over here there was the first of 2 climbing frames, and that was about here. There's a low climbing frame, and then there was a tall climbing frame over here, which was a death trap. So, yeah. And these fences, they're all covered in brambles and high now. They all used to be low wooden fences. So all the fences were low, made out of wood, and all the kids would just jump over the fence. And we all knew each other. We'd all shout at each other from our back fences. "You coming on?" "Yeah, I'll be on in 5 minutes. Just having me tea." So, I'm not going to pinpoint exactly where my old house was, because I don't want it turning into a shrine. But, yeah, all low wooden fences, and we had a gate on ours, so we would come out like we were playing cricket onto the field. We'd set up here and have a game of football. I mean, I spent the majority of my youth in this place. From the ages of 8 to 18, I lived here. And we called it the park. It's not really a park, is it? There are still climbing frames here. They're just made out of dog shit. And apparently, if you can walk round this field once without standing in dog shit, you don't have to pay your council tax for a year, which means it's impossible. But yeah. This is where I lived. That's enough of that sentimental stuff. Onwards. Oh look, there's a bin here to put your dog shit in. How novel. So, I'm heading back towards Morrison's now for a cup of tea. Man, I've seen some stuff go on these greens in years past. Samurai sword fights, baseball bat fights, you name it. Police dogs. See, I cannot get that theme tune from Tales of the Unexpected out of my head. It really is the perfect theme for this town. spent half of my youth dreaming about escaping this place, and I eventually did, for the most part. But when I was poorly a couple of years ago, there's only one place I wanted to be, and that was at home, in the comfort zone. So, that's it. And I'm back where I started. Not as surreal a day as can often be the case in Blackpool, but I will just leave you with some wise words from that great man David Lynch. Keep your eye on the donut and not the hole.